cean comhairle agus a hísí bhhatlam fille an ábhar Aeráide Aeráide, go háirid I ggóéis na túrascála damananta a dailsí an áisíocht EPA aniu, agus an teachtarach láidir nach bhfuilmid chun ar sprucanna a cholíniú. Agus an teachtarach ba láidire ón túrascáil sin ná tá sé haram beart a dhéanamh de réir an mbriathar. Taoiseach, I'm returning to climate change in the context of Galway City and in the context of the report from the EPA today. And the strongest message from the EPA is that we need to take action. We need to stop talking. That comes further to the UN Secretary General telling us that some government and business leaders are saying one thing but doing another. Simply put, they are lying and the results will be catastrophic. I'm not interested in back and forth here today, Taoiseach, with smart comments. Let me preempt your indignation and your outrage by saying I welcome the changes you've made in relation to public transport. And I say that in the context of Galway City because that's where I'm going today. Tá mé ag díriú an spot solas chathair na Ghealladh atá plúchta le tranglam tráchta. Agus ag codirsteá muintir na chatrach, a chuid sláinte agus gnó na chatrach. So, Taoiseach, I'm specifically asking you today to stop the rhetoric, stop the smart comments. I won't enter into them today. This is far too serious. So we have a beautiful city, Cahar Gáithanga, Harshock na Gaeltacht is most tier, absolutely smothered with traffic. And we have a traffic plan that's not fit for purpose. Indeed, it wasn't fit for purpose in 2016. I had the privilege of being mayor and the cooperation of the councillors. We put in park and ride in the city development plan in 2005. Here we are, how many years later, no park and ride in Galway. And we have a National Transport Authority without any sense of urgency or any reality in relation to climate change, telling us they're now looking at the east side of the city while they've utterly forgot the west side of the city. Let me say the positive things that have occurred. Your reduction in transport, which begs the question, why not roll it out completely free of charge, even on a pilot base, given the astronomical challenges we're facing in relation to climate change? Public transport works. Specifically in relation to Galway, my question is, will you commit to a feasibility study on light rail? Your Minister for Transport has repeatedly said, no later than 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there is no problem with money. 22,500 people signed a petition in 2018. I have repeatedly brought this to the attention of this government and the previous government, and simply asking for a feasibility study as one ingredient in the transformative change that Galway City needs.
Fáile go bun úsach géon tíim leis an teachta dála go bhfuil géarchá ann a bhfad níos mó a dhéanamh cho tapig is féidirling agus é a dhéanamh níos tapúla chun daileáil leis an gghearcéim Aeráide atá chuing. Agus tá sé práinach an dúchlein atá amach roing. Agus cá méid bhad níos mó dhéanamh níos tapúla. First of all, I want to agree with the Deputy that we have to move faster and we have to do an awful lot more in terms of climate change. I recently heard John Kerry, the US envoy, point out that world experts are saying that even if we take action now, it doesn't stop a crisis caused by climate change. It just stops the worst consequences of the crisis. So already we are experiencing crisis brought about by climate change. The challenge ahead of us now is to move fast as a world to prevent the worst consequences. We have a lot of drought in the Horn of Africa, for example. We have desertification and so on. And so we've got to move quickly, and that's why we've taken measures, and I appreciate the Deputy has acknowledged that, in terms of some of the measures in public transport in particular, and you've referenced that in terms of the experience in Galway. And I will talk to the Minister for Rail. My view is he is committed to the idea of a light rail in all of our cities, and in terms of commissioning a feasibility study in respect of that, I will talk to him in relation to that. I know that in the Recovery and Resilience Plan, significant funding was allocated, for example, in the Cork area for the Mallow, Middleton through Kent Station commuter line, with a view to creating, proper sort of commuter lines that would encourage development and residential development and compact growth and so on in the cities and in the towns. And likewise, in terms of the fare reductions, we will continue to look at that in the context of the next budget, in terms of that strategy in encouraging people to use public transport, and also the active travel. I didn't get a chance earlier in the earlier exchange. I mean, there's been fairly transformative work already done on active travel on the land, and we're only 2 years in government. But the budget for active travel, I think, will transform the country in terms of cycle routes, in terms of walking routes, and access to cities as a result of that. There's been a significant improvement in solar. Offshore wind is key for this country. And again, the European Union will be bringing in a regulation, and this will cause challenges with a view to creating an overriding public interest in terms of getting wind farms established, an overriding public interest, which then local governments can take into account when trying to fast-track offshore wind projects, which we need to do.
Ghealladh.
Language has to mean something. I appreciate your positive comments. I'm looking at Galway City. It's a golden opportunity for the government to make reality their commitment to climate change. 2005, Park and Ride, not acted on. Something is wrong here. National Transport Authority has no sense of urgency, no Park and Ride, no comprehensive programme to lift the traffic for the schools, no feasibility study, even though 22,000 people asked in 2018. If you're committing today to doing a feasibility study, which is basic, just basic, I welcome that. IBEC, that lovely organisation that you so respect. Government needs to address quality of life and sustainability issues in the West and in Galway City if Galway is to progress. Conor Faucon, AA, Galway is a modestly sized city, embarrassingly bad, the traffic for this modest side, and has come out in favour of light rail. I'm appealing to you to make words mean something. Here is a golden opportunity. I understand when the cross-party committee set on climate change, there was a very strong suggestion that Galway would be picked as a pilot project for sustainable development and traffic. Here is your golden opportunity. Agus Jane Bart, the réir, the mbriathar.
Every city and town in the country, and Galway especially. And I know there's been a fairly divisive row in Galway in respect of the ring road, which has gone on a long, long time. And by the way, a light rail and a proper road system are not mutually exclusive either. And I think there needs, I mean, I don't know why a park and ride hasn't happened in Galway. That's fundamentally a matter for the local authority. Look, we've won. Other cities have them a long, long time.
The National Transport
Authority. Yeah, but there has to be liaison with local authorities. Sites have to be identified. Routes have to be organised. I don't understand why it hasn't happened in Galway. And we will follow that up with the local authority and the NTA in respect to that. Because there should be a park and ride facility in a city like Galway. There should be. Other cities have park and rides. Not the full answer, but they're important. And above all, other cities have moved faster in terms of pedestrianisation and in terms of changing the nature of cities. And we need to do that far